Dear friends, welcome to the Wednesday Word on Wednesday the 13th of April. This is a slightly longer video today because I'm going to report back on the annual parochial church meeting that we had on Sunday, for those of you who missed it, and also to remind all of us of our strategic priorities for this year. So at the meeting we elected Claire Salisbury and David Evans as our church wardens, 10 PCC members and 1 Deanery Synod representative. We thank Bill Harvey, who stood down as church warden, Ian Perry, who has served in many governance roles over the years, Godfrey Tarling as chair of the Buildings and Finance Committee, and Andy Ponting, who is retiring as our planned giving officer. And I'm delighted to be able to report today that Charlotte Jameson is taking Andy's place as our planned giving officer. We look back with joy and thanksgiving at all that the Lord has done amongst us in the last year. In my report, I began by looking back at the strategic priorities that we set at the annual parochial church meeting a year ago, before setting some priorities for this year, and this is a summary of what I said. Our first priority was to re-establish relationships after COVID, and these are some of the ways in which we have come back together again. We had a very successful church day out in the summer. We had tea parties in the rectory garden. We've had 3 welcome meals for newcomers. We've held Alpha, marriage, parenting and bereavement courses. Our small groups are meeting again in person and 4 new groups have formed. Central small groups have started again with meals and much larger numbers. Cameo have moved back into the Wesley room and their lunches have restarted. We're serving refreshments after our services and pizza after the 6:30. We've expanded Saturday Kitchen to make sure that our guests come inside the church building for lunch. And we held a very successful Minster Merriment and served refreshments after our Christmas services. And then rebranding has also strengthened our relationships with our wider community. Our second priority was to double the number of students, young adults and families, and again we've made great progress. The number of families at the 10 o'clock has increased significantly. The number of 18s to 30s at Central small groups on Thursday has doubled. And from no students at all at the 6:30 a year ago, we now regularly have 15 or 20. Our youth group has re-established itself. Most of our young people have returned and some newcomers have joined. Our third priority was to make the Minster a missional hub, and this is what we've achieved. We've worked with the Borough Council on the Minster Exchange development and the Churchyard project to make the Minster and its surroundings more welcoming, safe and accessible, and that work is about to begin. The Minster welcomers have become more intentional in reaching out to visitors and passers-by. Our publicity with the new branding is much more obvious and eye-catching. Heritage Open Days and our Experience Easter and Christmas attracted large number of visitors, many of whom interacted with our history and gospel displays. Fourthly, we wanted to develop missional opportunities with other churches, and I had been hoping to build on the Love Cheltenham Carols by Carlight with a Love Cheltenham Mission Week. But that hasn't happened because lockdown continued and because churches have been so taken up with rebuilding their own congregations. However, I am hoping to rebuild that momentum this year. I still pray regularly with the town centre church leaders, and we've been partnering with other churches in our detached youth work and other events. Our final priority was care for creation. We've made less progress on this priority, but we have achieved the following. We've had a Sunday preaching on care for creation. LED bulbs are being installed in the Minster and much of St Matthew's. Some small groups have run the Arosha Care for Creation course. The redevelopment of the churchyard is taking biodiversity seriously. The replacement of the St Matthew's boilers are being done in a way to make us carbon neutral as soon as possible, and they'll be much more fuel efficient. And the church office is increasingly paperless. Those last 2 priorities are going to be carried forward into 2022 and 23. So what are our priorities for this year? Well, first, for the whole church. We want the whole church to become more missional. And to that end, we are planning a whole church Alpha in the autumn of 2022. Do let me know if you'd like to be involved. We're going to develop our outreach ministries, Saturday Kitchen and CAP and that sort of thing. We're going to work towards a Love Cheltenham mission with other churches. and we're going to continue with our priority of care for creation. But as well as those, under the Minster, we want the Minster to continue to become a missional hub. We want to make most of the missional opportunities of the Minster Quarter, that is the library, the Wilson Museum, the Minster Exchange, the churchyard, the Minster and St Matthew's. Under pastoral care, we want everyone to have someone who is responsible for their pastoral care, either via their small group or a pastorate. Under youth, we want to equip our young people to be passionate about Jesus and to be able to share that passion with others. And then we want to reach young people within the parish and the wider town for Christ. Under children and families, we want to integrate Bright Lights families into the St Matthew's community, and we're going to do that by promoting our all-in services to non-church families. And then our 18s to 30s, we want them to grow in love for God and love for each other. And we want to equip them to live out and share the gospel